Okay. Well, it's 5:30. Let's call this meeting to order. I see we have Mr. Shattuck here. Item number 2 on our agenda is the public comment session. And I'll just tell you kind of what we do. You can talk on anything you want to. I think we know why you're here. And we do have like a 3-minute time limit, Jerry, so I'll let you take the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, appreciate it. This board, we didn't have a penny Harold, I'll tell you that. Oh, I cannot believe I didn't turn this thing off.
That's a minute right there gone, Jerry.
I'll need to confiscate that. We're not allowed to have cell phones in meetings.
On the way up here, I thought I got to turn that thing off before I go in there, and actually I forgot it. No, I'm Jerry Shattuck, and I'm here on behalf of the Green McAdoo Cultural Organization. As you may know, we're celebrating the 10th anniversary of the opening of the Green McAdoo Cultural Center here in Clinton. That's the museum that commemorates the dramatic events that surrounded Clinton as the site of the first public school desegregation in the South. We're very proud of that museum and what it's accomplished. Visitation has been not great, but better than we expected, actually. And so we consider it a great success, and we have hundreds and hundreds of sheets of comments from various visitors, and all those sheets over 10 years, I've seen one negative comment. They complained about the grass needed mowing. Everyone else is just enthralled with that museum and the history that it depicts. At any rate, this August marks the 10th anniversary of the opening of that museum, and we're planning some events to celebrate that. We're calling it Jazz on the Hill, and our hope is to have 4 Saturdays. First Saturday in July, August, September, and October. We're a little bit leery about whether or not the momentum will last for 4 different Saturdays. So after the second Saturday, we're going to reevaluate the situation and decide whether or not to hold the last 2 concerts. But these jazz concerts will feature bands from Knoxville, Oak Ridge, Clinton, and actually from other sites in East Tennessee. And I'm here tonight to ask for financial assistance from the Clinton Utilities Board in the form of advertisement as a primary sponsor of these events. You will be featured, of course, in all of the printed material that goes out, the press releases, the radio announcements, and of course we'll have signage at the events themselves to help thank Clinton Utility Board for its advertising and for its goodwill to the community. And I would be glad to answer any questions you have. I've only taken, I hope, not my 3 minutes yet, but if you have any questions, I'd be glad to respond. Oh, I'm sorry.
That you are
Most important
requesting
thing of
something.
all. We're asking for $1,000.
All right, sir.
That will cover most of one event and into 2 events. And very likely, if it's as successful as we hope, we may come back and be asking for additional advertising sponsorship from the Clinton Utilities Board. But at this point, we are asking for $1,000. Thank you for reminding me of the most important aspect of my request. Any questions at all? One thing I might add, for whatever it's worth, I don't know if you all are familiar with the concerts on the Commons that they do up in Norris. Pat Clancy sponsored that from the beginning, and I think it's going into about its 6th or 7th year.
I could say.
And it's been a tremendous success up there in Norris, and it's even becoming a tradition now. And it's generated a tremendous amount of goodwill for that particular utility. And we're hopeful that this series of events would likewise generate certainly goodwill and advertisement for Clinton Utilities Board.
Where will the concert be held?
It'll be there at the Green McAdoo Cultural Center. It'll be Jazz on the Hill, right up there on top of the hill. And we'll have stage and sound equipment and refreshments and so forth. There will be no admission.
So it's an outdoor event.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you very much for your time and your consideration, and I'll wait to hear from someone as to your decision on it, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Shattuck, that's That'll be item 12 on our agenda.
Okay.
And obviously, I'm sure that we'll let you know
We
on that.
appreciate your consideration very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
All right.
All righty. Let's move on to item number 3. We have had the opportunity of reviewing the minutes from our prior meeting. I would like to ask if there are any additions and/or corrections to those minutes. And if I don't hear any, then of course I'd like to have motion and second for their approval.
Motion to approve.
Second. We have motion and second. Hearing no additions and/or corrections, we will please vote and voice our either approval by an aye. Aye. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Sorry. Again, item number 4, which are our vouchers for both the electric and water. We've had the opportunity to review those. Are there any questions, additions, or corrections to the vouchers? If there are none, then I again ask for a motion and second for approval of the vouchers.
We accept, approve the vouchers.
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Let's move on then to item number 5, and I'll call on, excuse me, Mr. Fagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not a lot of excitement this month, not that there ever is in the financial statements, but electric department is made $52,000. Sewer department had a slight loss of $1,600. They're both ahead of the forecast for the year, and I see no reason why we won't meet those budgets for fiscal year 2016. So if you got any specific questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Are there any questions? If not, we need a motion and second for approval of the monthly reports for the month of April.
I move we approve the monthly reports for the month of April.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. All right, at this time, let's call on Mr. Bowles for the project status report for electric.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The list of projects that you see there are all this year's projects that are winding down. You see the statuses of each. That is accurate to the best of our knowledge at this point, and without going through and itemizing each one, because I know you can read, I'll be happy, though, to answer any questions that you might have about our project status, electric engineering, or operations.
Blockhouse Valley is completely finished now, all the work orders in, I mean,
Yes, sir. The only crew activity out there now is routine tree trimming on the tap lines.
that came in considerably under budget.
It's not final
It's not
cost.
closed yet.
Okay,
It will
so
move to
that's-
the closing report.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we'll have everything in on that. Okay.
Faster than Dudley.
I'll get him back on that.
He will.
Yeah, that's true. All right, now, the next item then, excuse me, is our closing report, and the first is, of course, electric. And I will ask for your input or ask for any questions. We can see what, again, that it was estimated cost, what it closed at.
That's the one that actually went out. I knew there was one on there that was considerably under budget. And that one is closed and it's considerably under budget.
Yes, it is. And because of the large amount of the estimate, as you know, we have a 10% contingency that's added on there. Obviously, we didn't use any of that contingency. And the biggest thing is our crews did a great job and finished about 3 weeks ahead of our projection. So you take all the overheads and things that did not accrue due to that. Plus, we did have about a $25,000 rock allowance, and we did hit some rock, but we didn't hit $25,000 worth. So you add all that up, and it kind of snowballs, and we're happy to report that it's that much under our estimate.
Mr. Hawkins, I believe you've got one on the close there, water and sewer.
It's not,
Still pending, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, yes, I see that. Slide. Yeah, okay. All right, let's move on then to item number 7. And that's the transformer purchase, and I'll ask Mr. Bowles if he has anything that he wants to tell us about this.
Mr. Chairman, it's a standard order of pole-mounted transformers, and you see the quantities, and we've gone with a cherry-picked bid because the bidder with the overall lowest bid, we were able to cherry-pick with a different bidder and overall get our purchase about $1,600 less, and that's what we're recommending.
That being the case, we would entertain any questions that anyone might have. And if we do not have questions, again, I will ask for a motion and a second for the approval of the purchase of the transformers.
Make a motion for approval of the transformers.
second,
We have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Let's move on then to item number 8. We'll start with the approval of a couple of work orders. We'll start with number 361 first. Mr. Bowles?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These work orders are in our budget. We're bringing them to your approval now so that we can start in a timely fashion. This work will be done with our own forces. And the first one, 361, is in the fair town of Norris up here. And you see the costing estimates out through there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, but we certainly would recommend approval to proceed with construction.
Are there any questions, comments? If not, then we would like to have a motion and a second for the approval of work order number 361.
Make a motion to approve work order 361.
CP?
second.
I knew y'all kind of simultaneous there, so. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Let's move on then to the next, which is work order number 366.
Mr. Chairman, yes.
Yes, sir.
This is also in our budget here coming up for this year. And again, we're moving along so that we can work in a timely fashion and establish and complete our work plan. This work will be done with one of our contract forces that we have here, work with us every day. And I think we had $350,000 in the budget, and we're actually estimating a little under. So hopefully this one won't reverse on us, Charles. We'll have good fortune with this one as well. This is the continuation of this main feeder line that we stopped this year at the overpass, at the laundry mat, and it will go down past Magnet Mills, down the 4-lane. We have to get that line off the old river. We can't get to it. and it will tie into our main feeders there at the drugstore. So we would ask for your approval to proceed with this as well.
So did you say that was a Pike gonna do it, or contractor, or is that Harrison? Okay, the
Service
other one is-
Electric here that we have Service Electric and Pike. Service Electric will actually be doing this job.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain once again a motion and a second for the approval, work order number 366.
Work order 366.
Second.
Thank you, Penny. We have motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Like sign. All right, let's go on ahead here, and I am gonna get to calling you now, Mr. Hawkins, for item number 9, which is the approval of the contract with, I'm not gonna say, is that Evoqua?
Evoqua, very good,
Hey.
Mr. Chairman, very good.
Okay.
Practice, good for you.
This item seeks board approval of a contract with Evoqua Water Technologies, which is an international leader in wastewater treatment for industries and municipalities, to supply chemicals, equipment, and professional services necessary to control odor and corrosion-causing constituents in our public wastewater collection system. In April of this year, CUB sent out a request for proposals to 6 companies, and we received proposals back from 4 companies. And then we thoroughly evaluated the proposals and then determined Evoqua Water Technologies to be the best, most qualified company. You have in your board packet the request for bids and the proposal from Evoqua, the process of CUB's evaluation of the proposals or the bids, and the proposed contract with Evoqua. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. There's a lot of information on there. We'll take it a page at a time, or any general questions you have.
Is this a renewal of the contract, or is this a new?
This is, Mr. Price, this is a new contract with a new company, but
Okay.
we've had a company administering odor and corrosion control chemicals in our system for about almost 4 years.
Who did it before?
The bidder that you see there, Aulic Chemical Solutions.
Now, if I remember correctly in reading that, theirs is a more, I'm gonna call it diluted strength of chemical.
Yes.
And we had maybe a few issues, let's say.
We've had several issues with Aulic. They've not performed according to their contract requirements. And rather than dropping them and not having any odor control chemicals added, we went out for bids and continue to use them. We're using them today. It is working. It's just not, it's not efficient. It's not cost effective to continue with their process. Evoqua, this is what they do on an international basis. And even though their price is higher with the equipment that they have what they call a VersaDose. It's a patented system. They have site evaluations. We can go on the internet. We can adjust the chemicals on site. They can adjust the chemicals on site. We get professional services and equipment and chemicals for this price per gallon. So
They were
we'll wind
using a
up-
different chemical also than,
It's a calcium nitrate. It's very similar, which is why I'm comfortable with it, because we've used it for years and it's worked when it's administered properly. But if you chemicals are very expensive, so if you wrap technology around them, you can be efficient in the use of the chemicals. And so we haven't had odor complaints, don't want odor complaints, but we also don't want to put too many chemicals in and over-address the issue.
Even though the price per gallon is higher, which is what part of our evaluation has been, the actual cost to Cub will be less because of the way it's administered. And we have a not to exceed, because that was one of our concerns too. So we've been running about $170-some thousand, $177,000, was it, Dan?
That's the average over the last
2 years.
Yes, sir.
And we got them to agree that our cost is not going to exceed $165,000.
165.
But we believe that it'll be less than that, because in addition to when Dan talks about about how they administer it, we'll be able to track that and get alerts on the phone. It's all cloud-based. So we'll see. It sniffs out, so we're hopefully, by doing that, we'll be able to administer chemicals during these slugs as they come down. And during heavy rain events, water temperature, it drops the water temperature, it eases back on the chemicals. So it's about as much as the chemical as it is about the administrating and how it's administrated. And we think it's going to be a cost savings, which is why Dan went through the process and his team of evaluating how can we improve on what we have. Where we're able to address the odors in the city, which were in the years past a complaint, and we've devoted a lot of effort to minimize that. Now that we know that we can use this chemical, calcium nitrate, effectively, we hope to be able to use that and administer that more appropriately, other than this mass dealing per station, adding chemicals that may or may not be needed. This, we think we're going to be much more judicious in how we apply the chemical, where we apply the chemical, and Dan's ability to monitor that. That's why the cost per gallon is higher, but for certain, the annual cost will be less.
I was gonna say,
That's
got a
correct.
top figure that's 12,000 less than the average of last 3
Well,
years.
that's the
Is that
maximum.
right?
That's the maximum.
I'm just saying, that's the max.
Right.
But
So
that's,
we're taking
at the
money.
max, it's a $12,000 annual savings.
Correct.
Well, I'll hazard to say at the minimum, it's a $12,000 a year savings, because we
Yeah,
believe,
yeah,
and
I should
certainly,
say
yeah,
minimum,
yeah, and
yes.
certainly they believe
Pardon me.
that through this process,
me.
it'll make a real positive difference.
And do I understand that previously we've not been able to monitor as effectively as what we'll be able to?
Well, we certainly won't be able to monitor it real time. We have monitors in the system. They hang in what they call an odor logger,
Okay.
which logs the odors, the H2S, hydrogen sulfide levels, which is what the odor is that you smell, like eggs, down at a downstream pump station. Well, we go down and download that, and a week later, we know when we had problems.
Okay.
With this one,
It's gonna
it's
be more-
monitoring the same time that the chemicals are going in. So if the
Okay.
monitor's going up, if a boat dock, you got a hot weekend and the boat dock's discharging, because we get that, it's 20 miles. By the time it gets here, it's ripe. If we don't start administering that and it picks up that, it senses that H2S level is higher, we can crank it up from our desk, or they will do it because they're monitoring it 24/7. And then you get alarms from spikes, and like Greg said, it comes on the phone. Got an
Okay.
alarm at such and such station. You go right on the iPad at the house and call that up, and we can adjust it right there if it's on a Sunday.
And we don't have that capability now.
No, we have no
So,
capability like that now. We go by once a week and adjust the
So
chemicals
this is really buying us
Based
new
on-
technology.
Based on last week's readings?
based on the temperature and if the boat docks are on and if it's rain. But if a rain comes through, nobody's up there turning it down and then back up
Okay.
again, so.
Yeah.
Now,
Good
I think,
investment.
I think we also, didn't I read something that said that this would also be beneficial as far as the corrosive aspects of what we're treating?
Yes.
Which in turn should help on the life of our equipment.
Oh,
If it's less
absolutely.
corrosive too. So that's an additional effect from this.
Yes.
In my interpretation of what I read there.
The bacteria that oxidizes hydrogen sulfide gas, actually, when you take H2S and you add O4 to it, which is oxidizing the H2S, you get H2SO4, which is sulfuric acid, which is one of the most corrosive acids. And you got moisture forming inside the manhole cover. The acid goes up and mixes with that moisture. You got sulfuric acid eating up the concrete and the metal. So, yeah, you actually buy a lot more life out of your system by keeping that controlled. That's the reason it's odor and corrosion consistent, constituents. that
What
we're
about
addressing.
the cost of installation of the equipment for
That's
the
all
monitoring?
covered in
It's
this.
all in that per gallon?
And the maintenance is
Okay.
covered in this, and the replacement of the chemicals, and If something's wrong and they see something's wrong on site, they'll come to the site and fix it.
Okay.
Was there anything particularly outstanding or not outstanding about the second bid, Hawkins?
Well, the main reason why we didn't award it to them is they have no experience. They'd like to be able to do this, just like Olic Chemical. They really wanted to do it and let us believe that they could do it, and they were developing the process, and it just, over almost 4 years, it hasn't been developed.
They'll tell you
Hawkins-
today that they can do it.
Right, and Hawkins hasn't even started doing it. They want to be in the business, but they're not.
Don't have any track record.
Don't have any track
That's part of the
record.
evaluation process,
Okay.
in
And if
terms
you-
of experience, where
If
that's
you call
important.
Evoqua, they've been working in Metro Nashville for 15 years. So they spend millions of dollars in odor control over there.
No-brainer.
My only question is, why didn't we do it before?
4 years ago.
I'm here to help you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks for the help there, Evil.
It was
Got
cost.
Evil Knievel now.
I mean, it was cost, when we've got folks saying that they can do it, and, you know, they've had background in it, and again,
Right.
this cloud continues to evolve. I know it's been around for a while, but when it gets down to wastewater chemical distribution, it takes a little while before that system to get going.
Yes.
Any other questions?
If I could just make one comment, back when Evoqua came up with this technology and started working with the larger municipalities, they sold a lot more chemical. So when they came into Clinton, Tennessee, in a small utility, and they've got to set up equipment, and they got to travel here and add the chemical and travel here to maintain the chemical, they had to wait until they covered such an area and had so much profit margin that they could afford to come to a smaller utility. That's one reason why, when we bid this before, Evoqua didn't even bid, because they were over $4 a gallon, and Olic was $2 and something, so it's an evolution, like Greg said, to where we get, and it gets better every year. The technology and the ability to remotely monitor gets better every year, everything we do.
That's a good answer on the why not 4 years ago, too. They didn't bid.
I'm smarter now than I was.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I'd like to have a motion and second for approval of the contract with Evoqua.
I may make a motion to approve the contract with Evoqua.
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed by like sign? Greg, I guess you're going to
Yes,
address
sir, I
item
am.
number 10,
Thank you.
and that's the Reliability Standards Memorandum of Understanding with TVA.
We have been in negotiations with TVA for quite some time to agree on how we can participate with them so they can comply with with NERC's reliability standards for bulk electric systems. That's the North American Electric Corporation.
NERC and FERC and CERC.
Right, you know, FERC is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and CERC was, I guess that was created in 1970 after the NERC was created after the 65 blackout in Canada, and the Federal Power Commission Act in 67 created NERC in 1968. So that's been around since 1968. The North American Electric Reliability Corporation is designed to minimize these major outages throughout the country up through Canada. And CERC, which is the Southeastern Reliability, that's made up of TVA and Southern, I believe, and also Florida Power and Light, if I'm not mistaken. So CERC is the one that NERC relies on for reliability compliance. And anything over, I believe it's 100 kilovolts, and anything with a sustained peak of 25 megawatts, which down into the distribution level, which is what we are, And since we have that, we can impact the BEC, which is the bulk electric. If we can touch them in any way, then there becomes a reliability issue, and then there's a compliance in that. Historically, TVA has been the one that worked with NERC and CERC in order to meet these standards. In 2012, they started to shift that into how does it affect and identify the power suppliers and not the power generators. And we supply the power. And since we touch with 161 that we have and some of the other things, some utilities are not impacted by this. We have got to work with TVA because TVA is in compliance with CERC. Either that or we have to deal directly with CERC ourselves. So we have, over time and with adjustments, agreed to this reliability standard memorandum of understanding between us and TVA. Absent this, then we have to go to CERC and qualify under their reliability standards. This way, TVA becomes the umbrella for us. And there are certain practices that we're going to have to institute in the case of events and in terms of people in contact and how all of that goes down. That's what we've agreed to in this memorandum of understanding, that we would open our system up in order to be audited if necessary, in order to meet TVA's requirements to CERC, which has then to NERC, which then goes to the Federal Regulatory Power Commission. So that's how it is, and this MOU is the result of those efforts, and I recommend that you give me the authority to execute this, and then absent this, we will then have to go directly to CERC and meet their requirements and be subject to an audit through them. And I'll be glad to answer any more questions that you may have over that.
Do we have any? Hearing no additional questions, I would ask for a motion and a second for the approval of the Reliability Standards Memorandum of Understanding with TVA.
So moved.
Second.
We have motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Let's move on to item number 11. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Greg, I forgot
That's-
who that, I think it goes Dudley,
It
doesn't it?
does, yes, thank you, Mr.
I
Chairman.
wasn't sure, but I was thinking it went Dudley for review of our insurance proposal for the next year.
Okay. We do this every year. This is all our insurance, not health and life and things like that, but workers' comp, general liability, and property. And we bid that out. TVPPA is a distributor's insurance company, and they specialize in utilities, and that's who we've been with for quite some time. You see, their total bid is $563,000. The other proposal's $579,000. If you look at last year, it was $571,000 with TVPPA, so we've actually got about an $8,000 decrease. We recommend approval of TVPPA for our insurance needs once again.
Any questions?
The decreases.
That's what I was just about to ask. All other insurances are going up. Can you explain that? Do you know?
Some of that's your experience, you
Okay.
know, some of that's your experience, and some of that's just the rates, you know, but,
We've probably got some longevity renewal credits. You can see we got about $5,000 there in workers' comp, and that's based on the experience mod. And so the others is probably, either based on the
The-
length of time we've had it, or maybe a favorable loss categorically for certain ones of them, like on auto liability. it's a little bit up, you know, and then the umbrella is down. You know, you can just you kind of look and see what last year was, and
Just unusual to see one come down, I guess. Maybe I'm not used to it in the corporate environment of that level.
We've seen that in the past. It will fluctuate.
I recommend a motion and second and approval then. Before they change their mind. I'm telling you, I deal with those insurance
do it.
companies
I throw my
every day. Let's
insurance in
do
there
it before
too.
they think about it. You know what? Let's do it before they think about it.
I've got 2 kids driving now. Can I throw auto insurance in there with it?
Oh, you got boys too, don't you, Penny?
Yes, sir.
That's even worse. Boys are worse than girls, is what I'm saying. Oh, my goodness. I remember those days as well. So, not fondly, I might add.
Make a motion to approve the insurance quote from TVPPA.
Second.
We have a motion second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Okay. I'm gonna turn item number 12 then over to Mr. Fay, and of course, obviously, we've got one addition, that being the request made by, pardon me, that being the request made by Mr. Shattuck.
Mr. Chairman, you're welcome to deal with that first. I only have one other on Lake City Middle School. You should have, see, that's part of your board packet.
Now, that's been reviewed, let's,
All right.
you know, as part of the
Well, you
package,
have that there. This is,
your recommendation.
this is really a new request, and I don't have an opinion on this one way or the other. I don't know, whatever the board really wants to do on that, because it's new. It's not something we've done in the past. I'm not sure I know the board's policy on new requests.
What I was going to ask, do we have a policy on sort of like, you know, at my place, I kind of try to do what I have traditionally done, unless that maybe I change emphasis on certain things, but I kind of keep a specific dollar amount that I try and allocate out. And so I don't know if that's the way the board.
Thought we, in the past, just deferred to Greg's recommendation, and I thought,
You know, that's-
unless something's changed, I thought that's what we've done in the past. And
Generally, I on the new ones, most of those are, we have done those in the past, so we look historically what we've done. But if the board, I don't know where these would end, you know, if you're, and that's the problem. That's the problem, is the containment of it, since we are stewards of the ratepayers' money. And then how much, if we try to annualize it, or if we try to put it into sections, because we receive and have received requests, and I think we receive more. I just don't know where the boundaries are in what we do, and how you all want to handle these things, because I think that they'll come up a lot, especially the new ones. I can't give you guidance from what we've historically done, even like what Mr. Shattuck asked for tonight. That's something outside of what we would normally do. And then, so how do we balance our responsibility to be good stewards of the ratepayers' money, and also community citizens, you know? But we are serving in so many counties, and I don't know how many elementary schools and middle schools and high schools that'll make up, you know? And then are we only going to do those? Because then we have them, you know, for, that are not part of that. We got the chess club, we got the robotics club, the swim team, the dance team, you know, the.
Volleyball,
Right, I
basketball,
don't,
baseball,
and
softball.
that's what I'm saying. I don't know if we want to, if the board would want to do something, a certain amount of advertising for these kind of things that a year, and then when we hit that amount, we have no more money left over, and that way we put an end cap, you know, we have some type of here's what we have, and this is what we think annually is a good number for these nonprofits. And then I don't know if it's first come, first serve, or if it's historically that we were doing it, we continue to do that. You know, I just don't know.
What do we do for the other middle schools right now? Clinton Middle School.
We have done $100, but we've been doing that for 40 years, you know, and
Just
that's,
in general to them or to their,
no.
Is that to the middle school or is that a high school program?
Well, it's a high school program, you know, I don't know, off the top of my head about the middle schools, and that's what I'm saying that, but we've even done,
Open up a whole can of worms.
well, yeah, I mean, we've been down to elementary schools before, so it's not very much money, you know, but if there, I see, if there's no, if we don't have some type of a barrier up, this will just continue to, I believe, expand, especially as word gets out. If we're supporting this, that everybody wants to, and I've had them years ago come in and I just tell them, I'm sorry, there are no new groups that we're taking on, because it was something worthwhile they were taking a group somewhere, but it's ratepayers' money. So, and then it becomes, that's part of your pathway.
I would kind of maybe like to see you put together a recommendation
I'll do it.
of, not each specific, but maybe allocate so much for schools
a school district or something.
and try to balance it out a little bit.
On
and
both
then-
ends of the county, or even,
Service area.
even counties.
Right.
Because since we service multiple counties.
Yeah, see, we're in Knox County too. So, I mean, you know, Knox County, Morgan County, Roane County, Union County.
We
Kent
shouldn't
County.
get too many requests from them, however, we could.
We could.
We should be
When the word
prepared
gets out.
to address it.
I was going.
I'll work on that if you'd like.
It's gonna be hard.
Say,
It's-
you know, I feel sure that we can pull together and can make a determination of what that we are currently spending on an annual advertising basis. And then the board establish basically a dollar figure, or a request obviously from our general manager to establish a dollar figure. And then try and, as you say, look at, I think you're correct, Ms. Harrell, in saying we don't want all of it going to Anderson County High School, we don't want all of it going to Clinton High School. And we realize we need some of it maybe in middle schools and, you know, different things, and be able to spread that out and
I'd like
to
for Greg to make
make
a
that recommendation to us after.
whole top to bottom. Otherwise, Penny and I are gonna be arguing. She's gonna want to send all the money to Anderson County, and I want it to go to Clinton. So, is that correct?
Not looking at the camera.
Misspoke, didn't it?
I will do that.
If that'd be, I believe it'd be a little, it might be a little easier. It's gonna be hard, but it'll be fair, maybe.
And Lake City Middle School hasn't changed to Rocky Top Middle School?
No, obviously you see what
They're
they've
gonna
got
stay
there.
in
Yeah.
Lake City.
That's all I have. If you,
Too much money.
if you want to, if you want to
Okay.
defer this.
Yeah, well, is that the board's, I guess you'd say, desire and intent is to defer
Defer and let
until
Greg come
that
up with
we
the recommendation.
establish, you know, some guidelines and a dollar figure? Okay, let's do that then. How about,
Mr. Fay, are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I sensed that Greg was kind of saying, if we do this, we're opening up Pandora's box. That was my sense. Am I wrong?
Well, I think if, especially as new
In
ones, because
absence
now we've
some
had
type of
several
a
new
formal-
ones, we've had several new ones come online. And if that is going to be a trend, then I I think it would make sense that we really try to get some kind of a boundary about what are we prepared to do in terms of these nonprofits, which are all worthwhile. And I love the fact supporting the kids, and I think we have a responsibility to be a good corporate citizen, you know? So there's certainly room to advertise, but then somewhere, I think it's prudent to
Still gotta
say
draw a line.
that we have, these are the parameters where we can make a difference on all of these different places. And I'll try to come up with something, I'll try to get it out to you prior to the next board meeting, so you can improve it when you get here.
But we'll need to go ahead and separately deal with Jerry's request from Green McAdoo, or that would be a separate one, I would assume.
I would think so. Anything that comes bundled that way,
What's your recommendation on that?
Well, yeah, what's your feeling on that?
well,
Greg?
when 10 years ago, CUB participated with manpower and work again, because what we do there, I looked at from an economic development standpoint, is the way I justified that. This museum, the Green McAdoo Museum, is a cultural center point that will positively and has positively impacted our ability for industrial economic development. We take our prospects by there, and for those that it makes a difference to, it makes a big difference to. It makes a big difference to. So when you say, well, what can we do for economic development, and how can we make that a positive? I think that it does make it a positive for Anderson County and our greater community, as well as Clinton, but our greater community. So not looking at anything other than an economic development, I think that it's a worthwhile endeavor to do. And should this board choose not to do that, then I would push for EDA to make some kind of a contribution towards that, because I think that it's that important. So I would support this $1,000. I think it would be money well spent.
Input. Mr. Val?
My name's on the board up there at Green McAdoo for
Harold?
initiating it, so it's good, it's worthwhile.
Worthwhile cause. I like the idea that they're trying to start a community event here in our town rather than other neighboring towns drawing our citizens for those types of events. And it could help the economy overall by drawing people into Clinton, spending
Buy
money.
gas, buy food, they're gonna do some
Absolutely.
things. Sir?
Can we also go ahead, though, and get ETDD, I believe, or which one, however you say it, on board for the next 2 months? If we're getting the first 2 months, could we go ahead and get it lined up and possibly have it ready? Instead of him coming back and saying, wow, it was a huge success, now we need to go another round.
Because he said they might come back and ask for
We
more.
want another $1,000 from CUB.
I'll work with him individually on that, and then I'll work with my board at EDA.
And get close to the ETDA.
Anything else
No,
on
sir.
this end? I'm gonna go down here to CP. I'm gonna say, do you have some questions and or comments?
I've always been surprised that Green McAdoo hasn't been more of an item of interest than it has been. Like when Obama came to town, I'm surprised that there wasn't a tour of Green McAdoo for that. I was at Clinton High School when it was blown up, so I'm pretty much behind the whole effort here. So, yeah, I'm on board.
Vote it up, do we need to vote it?
I believe that,
Yes, sir.
I believe we should have a motion and a second to support.
Advertise.
From a developmental,
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it an economic developmental / advertising standpoint, the, what was they call it? Jazz on the Hill, I believe is what he called it, Jazz on the Hill. Do we have a motion to support that in a second then, please?
For the
For the
$1,000.
first two, $1,000, the request.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. We've had discussion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Okay.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other business?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll start down here with CP. You got any comments?
No comments.
Ms. Harrell?
No comments.
Evil Knievel Val
Not
there.
right now.
All right. Okay, well, guess what?